3 years after his last EP, DPR Live is back with the full-length album Is Anybody Out There? And if the rapper and the crew really outdid themselves with this one, the most incredible thing is that, as amazing as this album already is, it seems that it's still nothing compared to what they are truly aiming for. In the space of 5 years, these outsiders have managed to establish themselves as one of the most ambitious collective of the Korean urban scene, and probably worldwide too. Welcome everybody, I'm Ellie from K-pop Caviar, and today we're gonna see how Dream Perfect Regime are redefining the limit of the creation. Or alternatively, why you should just throw your personal development books away and just listen to DPR instead. DPR last MVs are impressive as much from a visual point of view than from a musical one. But to reach such a result, things have actually been pretty tough for the whole crew, so it's important to first go back to their roots. For the people who aren't that familiar with DPR Live and the collective Dream Perfect Regime, it might also be the occasion to have a better understanding of their dynamics. Our first protagonist is none other than Hong Da-bin, better known by the stage name DPR Live or sometimes just Live. Born in South Korea, Hong Da-bin mostly grew up in Guam, an island located in the Filipino Sea at the edge of the Pacific Ocean, and would have also lived in Saipan, an island located in the north of Guam. The particularity in those two islands is that they teach English at school. However, because his parents only speak Korean, he learned his mother tongue as well, making him fluent in both English and Korean. Not especially fond of school, Hong Da-bin was yet naturally interested in subjects such as psychology and philosophy. He thought about studying them in university. And he also loved everything related to communication and personal development, and that's something you can notice in his lyrics. As a young adult, before being able to enroll in university, he came back to Korea to do his national service there. As you can imagine, the military service wasn't an especially pleasant experience, but without it, Hong Da-bin might not be known by the name of DPR Live today. In some interviews, he explained how the military service gave him an opportunity to learn how to be patient, learn how to really focus, and also to reflect on what he truly wanted. Hong Da-bin always had an interest for music, and he had a feeling that there was potential for him to do it as a future career after hearing a recording of his voice. However, his future seemed to be heading more towards teaching, mainly because it was one of his mother's wishes, but also because he hadn't really planned to throw himself into music on a professional level. So yeah, during military service he really took a liking into turning his thoughts into lyrics. But also being told what to do every second of his life really changed his perspective, and after the army he basically just went berserk into music. That's when Dream Perfect Regime, also known as DPR, steps in. There is 5 figureheads in the crew: DPR Live, DPR Yan, DPR Rem, DPR Cream, and DPR Klein. And well, DPR is pretty much a perfect illustration for the concept of fate. Besides DPR Live and DPR Klein, who are cousins, the 5 of them grew up in different places in the world and basically met by mere chance in Seoul. It all started with Live and DPR Yan, aka Christian Yu, real name Yu Balom. Yan grew up in Australia and is now none other than the visual director of the crew. It seems that the two have been friends since at least 2013 or even 2011. A few years later, DPR Rem, real name Scott Kim, joined the duo after meeting DPR Yan while he was working with FX and W on the YouTube show What the Pineapple. He grew up in New York and is now the creative director and executive producer of the crew. Finally, the last to join the crew was DPR Cream, real name Kim Kyung-mo. He has been born and raised in South Korea and would have met the crew after the release of Till I Die, so over 2015. It seems that he debuted in his musical career in 2012 with the group Playback Sound. At the time he was already in charge of the instrumental but was also singing from time to time, so it was a pleasant surprise to hear him again in Gravity and for the Voyager 737, his own double single. In my opinion, 3 main factors can explain DPR's success. First, their patience. When you aim for something, patience is always the key, because you never know when your efforts are actually going to pay off. And DPR are once again the perfect example of this. The thing with DPR is that they have always been ambitious. From the very beginning, they knew where they wanted to go, what they wanted to accomplish. But their achievements were not easy to come by, Far from it. They started out with very little, especially financially. Rem and Yan had just some contacts already. For example, Yan knew some people in the Korean music industry because he was the leader of the boys band C-Clan before. Therefore, for around 2 years, DPR Rem and DPR Yan worked together as a visual production team for other artists. They are behind MVs such as Wake Me Up by Taeyong from Big Bang, All Up by Bobby from iKON, or even the MV for Body by Mino from Winner, and so on. Thanks to that, they could earn money for their own projects, and it has also given them the opportunity to improve their techniques. Also, another thing, collaborations are a good way to touch a wider audience, but like, when you look at Live's discography, yes, he indeed invited artists for some of his projects. However, in the space of 5 years, he has been on less than 10 projects from other artists. Which is very little, but actually, it makes sense. Well, I think this is because they prefer to stay patient and just focus on their own projects. So, if patience played a major role, they wouldn't be here without their creativity. DPR is literally a bunch of creative genius, and you can have all the money you want, but it's because of creativity that an artist will really stand out. In my opinion at least, creativity makes the difference. From a musical point of view, that's something you can notice if you listen to Live's whole discography.
So dang good. I'ma keep it straight 100 래퍼들아 다른 직업 찾아 yeah. 대한민국이라 하지 말아줘 yeah. 너네 가리가 나를 마셔 like please 한참 모자라 like 너와 갈라보 no no 완전 나보 no 진짜를 듣고 연락 바로 나는 색깔별로 하늘도 바다도 산도 함께 치를 수 있어 If you let me beat the code 우리의 많은 다른 점도 선으로 이어갈 수 있어 Take one If you're new with this ain't the world Come up with this let me go To do with this can we go If you're new with this If you're new with this ain't the world Come up with this let me go To do with this can we go I got a test I got it Martini blue 너란 파도 속에 헤엄치고 있잖아 Baby you're my Martini blue 너란 바다 속에 헤어나지 못하게 더 감싸 안아줘 Baby, my lady, my baby, my lady.
First, you will find different type of vibes, but more than that, there are some tracks which really stand out thanks to their pretty and common structure, like Playlist for instance, which is just incredible. There are like 3 type of vibes, yet the whole track still keeps a consistency. 눈을 감아주던 all the emotion Lips sweet like mangoes Girl, like your angles Your colors curve like rainbow Girl, something about you Girl, 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 girl. And I won't talk much about Is Anybody Out There here cause there is so many things to say about this album. I dedicated a whole video about it, link is in the description if you are interested. But I think that creativity is even more obvious when you talk about their visual productions. The first MV DPR made is Till I Die, released in August 2015. And if this MV was already incredible, they came such a long way, just watch Legacy if you haven't already. Now let's make things clear. I don't know much about direction and filming. I have some knowledges in editing, but that's it. But if you watch Live first MVs, in most of them there isn't many shots. It was often as a breathtaking type of landscape, like in La Puta and Nomi, for instance, or just some aesthetic shots with some symbolism, like in Right Here Right Now. All seem to have been shot thoroughly, and the result is always beautiful. But, more than that, in my opinion, if DPR MV stands out, it's most of all thanks to the creativity they put in the editing. There is a lot of beautiful MVs out there, but Are they as creative? I'm not sure. Since at first they were pretty limited financially, it's really thanks to the editing that they managed to create such striking MVs. There is so many brilliant ideas in the MVs, special effects which spice up the whole thing. Text Me is a perfect example for the use of editing. Originally, they didn't plan to do a MV for this song, but Ian had some interesting shots from their journey in London. They did the MV on a whim, and the result is nothing less than impressive.
Test me when you free. Test me when you free. When you free, baby. 문자를 줘, baby. 생각이 날 때 시간 내서 갈게. And be on the rocks, maybe. Then we can show me how you got me focused.
So little by little, you can really notice that they became bolder with the MVs. Went to place with spectacular sceneries like for Jasmine and Martini Blue, and with Legacy and Kiss Me Neon, they just set the bar even higher.
Take your fucking makeup off right now. I wanna love my girl underneath all these artificial lights.
I wonder if I'll ever see you again. Still remember how we met and how your kisses made it.
Your kisses make it go neon, 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 neon. Let me let me let me let me neon, neon, neon.
Finally, it might be obvious, but I think DPR wouldn't be where they are today if it wasn't for their passion. It's because of their passion that they can produce trendy, yet timeless tracks. Because they don't really follow the trend, instead, they create their own. That's why you will always recognize Live's music. And that's why the DC did in Legacy is 100% legitimate. But I will be talking more about that in the video dedicated to the album. Besides, it's thanks to their passion they managed to charm their fanbase. The passion they put in their production is really noticeable. I think it's mainly because of this that their fans like them so much in the first place. They are so passionate that they treat their fans like family. And Coming to You Live Tour was concrete proof of that. They put in so much effort to please the fan, for them to have a great experience, to really connect with the crew, more like a family reunion. I think it makes the difference. So yeah, DPR are a bunch of creative genius with an endless ambition, and I think that they still have a lot of surprise in store. As I said, I also did a video analysis about DPR Live's new album, Is Anybody Out There? But if you want more information about Live or Dream Perfect Regime, I also wrote more detailed articles about them. You will find the links in the description. As always, do not hesitate to share your thoughts about this video or what you like the most about DPR in the comments, and to share the video if you liked it. And for some more cool content, you can also subscribe and follow K-pop Caviar on Twitter and Instagram. All the links are in the description too. See you next time!